Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today we've got a really fascinating situation unfolding in Genoa City. You've brought in some incredible source material detailing. I mean, it's classic corporate espionage, but with this deep layer of personal revenge.
That's right. We're really digging into this whole plot with Phyllis Summers, the one and only Victor Newman, and this incredibly dangerous piece of tech, a stolen AI program.
Right, the AI. So let's frame this up for everyone, our mission today. Victor Newman thinks he's finally got the ultimate weapon, this AI, to just demolish Jabot, his rival company, and really stick it to Jack Abbott, his, well, eternal nemesis.
Yeah, that's what he thinks. But what the sources are strongly suggesting and what we're going to unpack is that he might have been completely played, masterfully manipulated, actually.
Okay, so that's the core question we're tackling. Is Victor, the hunter here, using this AI? Or is he, like, unwittingly the hunted, walking straight into a trap Phyllis set specifically for him, for Newman Enterprises? A high-tech Trojan horse.
Exactly. And what's so compelling, I think, is that the sources really point towards the genius of this plot. Not just being the technology, the AI itself, but the psychological setup. It's meticulous.
How so?
Phyllis seems to be exploiting Victor's biggest, oldest vulnerability. I mean, it's almost textbook, right?
Yep.
His massive ego and that obsessive, almost pathological need he has to bring down Jack Abbott. She's basically weaponized his own history against him.
Okay, I'm hooked already. Let's get into the specifics then. So, let's set the scene. Where does this all begin? We start with Phyllis Summers, who, let's be honest, is always a catalyst for chaos, right? She shows up at Victor's new ranch house.
Yep. And she comes with an offer.
Yeah.
But it's less a negotiation and more like bait. Perfectly crafted bait for someone like Victor. It's not about money, not directly anyway. It's all about power and revenge.
So she arrives, and what's her pitch? She needs something to make Victor even listen.
Right. She comes in armed with both the story and the tool. The story is, she claims she managed to steal Kane Ashby's cutting-edge AI program. And we're not talking about, like, a simple piece of malware here.
No. What does this AI do?
Well, the sources describe it as capable of really sophisticated stuff. Not just hacking, but deep market manipulation, destabilizing corporate structures from the inside, subtly. It's a secret digital weapon, and she just lays it on Victor's table.
Okay, but why would she have it? She needs a reason, a cover story for approaching Victor, her longtime, well, adversary half the time.
Absolutely. And her explanation, which crucially Victor seems to buy hook, line, and sinker, is that she had this huge, irreconcilable falling out with Kane Ashby.
Ah, okay, so that justifies stealing it from Kane?
Exactly. It justifies the theft and why she needs to offload it quickly, maybe before Kane can track it down or expose her. It paints this picture of her being, wronged, furious, and looking to cash in fast.
And Victor, being Victor, the ultimate opportunist.
He just sees the prize, right? He focuses entirely on the potential of the AI and kind of glosses over how convenient the timing of this falling out is.
And we know he takes it seriously because the first thing he does is bring in Adam and Chelsea, his inner circle, and stresses absolute secrecy, compartmentalized knowledge.
Yes, he knows this is potentially huge.
Yeah.
But the real key here, the linchpin of Phyllis's whole plan, according to this theory, is the price she demands. It's unusual.
What is it? Not money, you said?
No. She agrees to give Victor the AI, full access, but with one massive string attached, a condition. Victor must use the AI specifically to take over Jabot. Like, the method is mandatory.
He has to use this AI to go after Jabot.
Yes. And here's the kicker. Once Jabot is taken over, Phyllis gets ownership of the entire company. That's her payment.
Whoa, okay, wait. Ownership of Jabot. If Victor just wants to crush Jack, why not, I don't know, use the AI to bankrupt the company? Or break it up? Why hand the whole thing, a major corporation, over to Phyllis?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it feels like a massive corporate sacrifice for Newman Enterprises. Why would Victor agree to that?
Yeah, it seems unnecessarily complicated and, frankly, risky, giving a competitor, even one seemingly aligned with him at the moment, that much power.
This is where you really have to understand Victor's mindset. It shows his motivation isn't purely business, it's intensely personal. He actually explains his thinking to Adam and Chelsea.
What does he say?
He tells them, pretty directly apparently, that he never actually wanted to destroy Jabot as, like, a corporate entity. Jabot itself is just bricks and mortar spreadsheets.
It's just a company.
Right. For Victor, the real target, the one he's been obsessed with for decades, is Jack Abbott, the man.
So Jabot is just the weapon to hurt Jack personally.
Precisely. Victor calculates that letting Jabot fall Not just fail financially, but fall into the hands of Phyllis Summers.
Hmm.
Someone Jack has history with, someone who isn't Victor. That would inflict the absolute maximum psychological damage on Jack.
Seeing his family legacy controlled by Phyllis.
Victor literally says, according to the sources, that losing Jabot to Phyllis would actually destroy Jack. It's about breaking his spirit, not just his company's stock price.
That is pure Victor Newman, prioritizing the emotional kill shot over, sound corporate strategy. You have to remember the history here, right? This Newman-Abbott feud is legendary.
Oh, it's the bedrock rivalry of the show, isn't it? It's not just business, it's decades of deeply personal warfare. They've swapped companies, betrayed each other, kidnappings, personal attacks. It's endless.
So for Victor, giving Jabot to Phyllis isn't really losing an asset.
No, in his mind, it's gaining the ultimate prize. Jack's utter humiliation. He gets to deny Jack his legacy. So from Victor's perspective, handing Jabot over isn't a sacrifice. It's the cost of achieving his primary goal. It makes Phyllis's price seem almost reasonable to him.
And that becomes the win-win he sees. He gets the cool AI toy, he gets to devastate Jack in a way he's always dreamed of, and Phyllis gets what she says she wants. Plus, Victor doesn't have to get his own hands dirty with the initial theft.
Exactly. He genuinely thinks Jabot is an acceptable loss, maybe even considers it lesser than Newman Enterprises, to achieve this deep, visceral goal of hurting Jack. He places so little intrinsic value on Jabot itself compared to the value he places on Jack's misery.
And that's a blind spot. The perfect psychological opening for Phyllis to exploit, if this theory holds. He's so focused on Jack's potential suffering
that he's willing to trade what he sees as basically trash, Jabot, for the ultimate prize. Watching Jack crumble.
Okay, so Victor's bought the deal. But for this to work long-term, Phyllis needs him to really believe why she wants Jabot. She needs a compelling motive for this sudden, all-consuming hatred of the Abbotts. So let's dissect the bait she used. What was the revenge story she fed him?
Right, she couldn't just say, I want Jabot. She had to build a case. And she apparently wove together this mix of, recent slights and older resentments. Enough smoke that Victor, who loves seeing vengeance in others almost as much as enacting it himself, found what he called plenty of motive.
He saw enough anger there to make the demand for Jabot seem plausible to him.
Yeah, it validated the extreme request in his mind.
So what were these specific reasons she gave? The cover story motives?
Well, the first one, and probably the most obvious, was payback against Jack Abbott personally for choosing Diane Jenkins over her.
Ah, the classic romantic rejection angle. Victor would definitely understand that one.
Absolutely. But interestingly, the sources we have are pretty quick to point out that, yeah, there's rivalry between Phyllis and Diane, but right now it's described as kind of low-key and bland. Not exactly the stuff of legends,
Yeah.
Certainly doesn't seem like enough fuel for, total corporate annihilation.
Okay, so maybe not the strongest pillar for her story. What else did she throw in?
She sort of bundled in some anger directed at the younger Abbotts, too. She mentioned being mad at Billy Abbott for picking Sally Spectra over, well, whoever Billy was supposed to be with.
That feels pretty random. And low stakes for Billy.
It does. And she also threw in anger at Kyle Abbott, Jack's son.
Yeah.
Because he dumped her daughter, Summer Newman. So the overall narrative was, Jack rejected me, Billy slighted me, Kyle hurt my daughter, so I'm going to destroy John Abbott's entire legacy to hurt all of them, Jack, Billy, and Kyle.
It's a narrative of being the spurned lover and the protective mother bear, all wrapped up in one destructive package aimed squarely at the Abbott family legacy.
Exactly. She's basically claiming she's ready to burn down this multi-generational empire because, well, her personal life got messy.
And Victor, perhaps seeing a reflection of his own tendency to mix business with brutal personal vendettas, just accepts it. He sees a kindred spirit in her spitefulness.
That seems to be the crucial psychological misstep he makes. His worldview is so dominated by power plays and revenge that he assumes everyone operates on that same level of intense rage. So he instantly validates her motives, doesn't really question the proportionality of it all. Why would destroying Jabot be the only answer?
But this is where we, looking at it from the outside, need to apply that learner's viewpoint. Step back from Victor's massive ego. Why is it actually, deeply unbelievable that Phyllis would really target Jabot this way? What are the big red flags Victor missed?
Oh, the consequences for Phyllis herself would be catastrophic.
Yeah.
It fundamentally doesn't track with her character's core motivations, especially regarding family.
Let's break that down. What makes this stated motive so flimsy when you really look at it?
Okay, number one, and this is the biggest one, her own daughter, Summer Newman. If Phyllis actually destroyed Jabot, The fallout for Summer would be immense. Summer's company, Marchetti, this successful fashion house she runs.
Right. Marchetti is part of Jabot now. It's under their corporate umbrella.
Exactly. So if Phyllis takes down Jabot, she takes down Marchetti too. She destroys her own daughter's professional life, her career, her autonomy, everything Summer has built within that world. It's unthinkable.
Phyllis has always been, maybe sometimes dysfunctionally, protective of Summer. Even when Summer makes terrible choices herself. Wrecking Marchetti would be like Phyllis cutting off her own arm, a massive self-inflicted wound.
Huge. And the damage doesn't stop there. Think about Nick Newman. He's the father of her kids, often her confidant, sometimes her business partner, usually her most reliable emotional support system, even when they're not romantically involved.
How would Nick react?
He'd be absolutely furious, not just disappointed, but likely done with her. If she deliberately sabotaged Summer's career at Marchetti and dragged their shared family into this giant corporate mess, especially a mess targeting the Abbotts, who are tangled up with the Newmans in so many ways, he'd probably pull away completely.
Okay, so she risks losing Summer and Nick. What about her son, Daniel?
Daniel Romolati, yeah. He'd face a huge moral crisis. He might just walk away from her entirely. Not just because she hurt his sister Summer, but because attacking the Abbott family like that. Their family friends, associates. It shows a level of vindictiveness that Daniel, who often tries to be the moral compass, might find unforgivable.
So she's potentially alienating her entire support structure. Her daughter, her primary ally, Nick, her son, all for what she's claiming is revenge over Jack picking Diane and Billy dating Sally.
It just doesn't add up, does it?
Yeah.
She's gambling her entire family happiness, basically everything she claims to care about, on what the sources themselves describe as a low-key and bland rivalry with Diane Jenkins. The price is way too high for the stated reasons.
And there's one more family member to consider, isn't there? Her grandson?
Harrison Locke, yes. Kyle's son, Jack's grandson. Jabot is part of Harrison's legacy, his heritage through the Abbott side. Phyllis has shown she can be fiercely protective of her grandchild.
So intentionally ripping that legacy away from the Abbott family, which now includes her grandson, it just doesn't fit her usual protective instincts.
Exactly. The sheer scale of the familial devastation Phyllis would unleash on herself strongly suggests that her stated goal, taking over Jabot, isn't her real goal at all. It's just the necessary bait. The thing she knew Victor would believe she wanted because he wants to hurt Jack that badly.
It's the perfect misdirection. Victor is so thrilled by the idea of hurting Jack, maybe even enjoys the thought of Phyllis blowing up her own life in the process.
But he never stops to seriously question the core premise. He doesn't ask, wait, would Phyllis really do this to Summer? To Nick? To Daniel? To Harrison's legacy? He's blinded by the prize, Jack's pain.
Okay, so if the whole destroy Jabot thing is just elaborate bait, incredibly flimsy bait when you look closely, then we have to pivot. We have to look at the real target. And this is where, as you said, it gets really interesting. The sources seem pretty definitive on this point.
Overwhelmingly so. Phyllis's actual, deep-seated, decades-long target isn't Jack Abbott, it's Victor Newman.
The man she's making the deal with.
Exactly. This is the crucial historical context that Victor, in his arrogance and his obsession with Jack, seems to be completely ignoring. Phyllis and Victor. Their relationship is pure toxicity. It's built on years, decades even, of manipulation, betrayal, using each other.
She's described in the notes as someone who truly hates and will always loathe Victor for very, very good reason.
That's right. Her history with Victor is far more intense, far more damaging, and far more deserving of some kind of epic nuclear-level revenge than her current relatively minor squabbles with the Abbotts over Diane or whatever.
Can we touch on some of that history? What are these very, very good reasons she supposedly has for loathing Victor so much?
Where do you start? I mean, think about all the times Victor has used her as a pawn in his games against Jack or others. He's manipulated her, exploited her vulnerabilities, especially her technical skills or her impulsiveness, for his own corporate or personal gain.
He'd use her to spy on Jack, right?
Right.
Or plant information.
Constantly. He'd dangle opportunities, then pull the rug out. He'd put her career, sometimes even her safety, at risk for his schemes. And crucially, Victor has almost always underestimated her. He's seen her as a useful tool, maybe a dangerous loose cannon sometimes, but never, ever as a genuine strategic threat on his level.
That consistent underestimation. That sounds like fertile ground for a revenge plot.
It's the perfect foundation for this kind of Trojan horse scheme. He doesn't see the real danger because he fundamentally doesn't respect her capacity for long-term strategic thinking, only emotional reaction.
Okay, so if the motive against Victor is that powerful, that long-standing, then the revenge has to match it. It has to be devastating. Let's connect this back to the AI program itself. When Phyllis first got involved with Kane Ashby and this technology, what was her plan then? What did she originally want it for?
This is key, and the sources confirm it. There was no sudden change of heart, no pivot from wanting revenge on Victor to wanting revenge on Jack. From the very beginning, when Kane was showing her what this AI could do, how it could target major corporations.
What did Phyllis say?
She told Kane exactly what her goal was, unequivocally. She specifically wanted to use it to crush Newman, to take it over. And get this, she wanted to see Victor Newman working for her. She wanted to see him crawl.
Wow, not just destroy his company, but humiliate him personally, make him subservient to her. That's a total reversal of their entire historical dynamic.
It's the ultimate power shift.
Yeah.
And the argument against her just dropping that lifelong ambition is incredibly strong. Why would she suddenly abandon that goal, the one fueled by years of genuine animosity towards Victor, just to go after Jack Abbott instead? Jack, who's fundamentally just she has complicated feelings about and co-parents a grandchild with.
The math doesn't add up.
Yeah.
The motivation to attack Newman feels real, deep, personal. The motivation to attack Jabot feels manufactured, convenient, flimsy.
Exactly. It's bait.
Okay, but then here's a tactical question. If she hates Victor that much and her goal is Newman, why not just launch the AI attack anonymously? Why walk into the lion's den? Why go to the ranch, make this deal, expose herself to him directly? That seems like a huge risk.
It seems risky, but it's actually, I think, a calculated move. Part risk mitigation, part maximum psychological manipulation. First off, the practical side. Phyllis probably knew Victor was going to find out about the stolen AI anyway. Genoa City's like a fishbowl, right? Especially when something this big, a potential corporate superweapon, is involved. Secrets don't stay secret for long. And we know Kane Ashby didn't keep quiet. He immediately ran to Jack and Diane to warn them that Phyllis had the AI and it was dangerous.
So the clock was already ticking. News was going to get to Victor eventually.
Precisely. So by going to Victor first, Phyllis did something brilliant. She seized control of the narrative. Instantly.
Instead of being a rogue hacker with a stolen weapon that Victor might eventually hunt down.
She transforms herself into a potential, albeit desperate, strategic ally. Someone coming to him with a valuable asset and asking for a favor. A specific kind of payment. The deal itself was structured beautifully for this deception. It lets Victor feel like he's the one in control. He's getting this incredible weapon, the AI, and how does he pay for it? By giving Phyllis Jabot something, as we established, Victor doesn't even consider valuable in the grand scheme of things, except as a tool to hurt Jack.
She used his own disdain for Jabot and his obsession with Jack as the very leverage she needed to get inside his defenses.
Exactly. She played his arrogance perfectly. She needed Victor to be utterly convinced that her focus, her entire motivation was Jack and Jabot. That makes him drop his guard completely against any potential threat aimed at Newman Enterprises, especially one coming from the very tool he thinks he controls. It's genius, really.
Okay, let's shift from the why, the psychology, the motives, to the how. The engineering of this betrayal. This is really the climax of the theory, isn't it? The mechanics, the deception. The whole thing hinges on Victor being laser-focused on his external enemy, Jack.
While simultaneously inviting the instrument of his own destruction right into the heart of Newman Enterprises. It's a classic Trojan horse.
And the plan relies entirely on Victor's guard being down because he's anticipating victory over Jack.
Completely. The sources say he'll be so busy thinking about how great it's going to be when he finally destroys Jack that Victor may not notice the Trojan horse that he led into his life. His focus is entirely external, and this is where Phyllis's own skills come into play. She's described as a supposedly brilliant hacker.
Right, she has the technical chops. She didn't just steal the program. She presumably had to be capable of understanding it, maybe even modifying it.
Which seems to be exactly what the theory suggests she did.
Before we get to the modification, let's clarify what this AI actually does. You said it's not just standard hacking. What makes it such a potent corporate weapon?
Right. It's important to understand it's not like a smash and grab virus. Based on the descriptions, think of it more as an algorithmic destabilization engine. It's designed for subtle, deep infiltration into a company's core digital systems.
Like what kind of systems?
We're talking supply chain logistics, proprietary customer databases, maybe internal communications, but crucially, financial systems. Trading platforms, accounting software.
And it doesn't just crash them.
No, that would be too obvious, too quick.
Right.
It seemed designed to introduce, let's call it systemic chaos. A million tiny Critical errors happening all at once, disguised as normal fluctuations or incompetence. It might subtly manipulate stock algorithms, maybe initiate microtrades that drain liquidity over time, misroute shipments to cause production nightmares, corrupt critical data in ways that look like user error.
So it causes this slow, creeping decay that looked like internal failure, not an external attack, much harder to detect until it's too late.
Exactly. Plausible deniability is built into its function. And for Phyllis's plan to work, she would need to have not only stolen it, but potentially altered its targeting mechanism, or, more likely, gained control over its execution. Which brings us to the absolute crucial technical element.
The back door.
The back door. That's the linchpin of the whole technical side of this theory. Apparently, when Cain Ashby originally built this AI, he included a hidden, let's call it a remote access vulnerability. A backdoor.
Built in by the creator? Was that like a mistake, a flaw?
Not according to the sources. Yeah. It seems it was a deliberate design feature. Cain built it in on purpose.
Why would he do that? Why build a secret way into your own superweapon?
Control. Untraceable control. His original plan, apparently, was to let someone else, maybe Billy Abbott, think they were controlling the AI, directing it against targets in Genoa City.
So Billy would think he's the one running the show.
While Cain, secretly, always held the override switch through this back door. He could monitor it, redirect it, or shut it down completely, all without Billy knowing. He basically built a system designed to operate under a fault pilot.
Wow. Okay. That is the perfect setup for Phyllis. She didn't need to create a vulnerability. She just needed to find and hijack the one Cain already built.
Precisely. She didn't have to reinvent the wheel. The theory is she found Cain's back door and figured out how to use it. She essentially picked up right where Cain left off with his own deceptive plan.
So now she lets Victor be the false pilot.
Exactly. She allows Victor to think he's the master strategist sitting in the driver's seat, pushing the big red button labeled Destroy Jabot. But because of that pre-existing backdoor, that administrative override that she now presumably controls, it's actually Phyllis holding the real reins.
She's just waiting for him to launch it.
Waiting for the perfect moment to reroute the payload.
Okay, walk us through that moment. Victor, satisfied Phyllis wants Jabot, and blinded by his hatred for Jack, initiates the attack using the AI. What happens next, according to this theory?
So Victor hits go. He probably sees some initial confirmations on his end, maybe status lights blink green, maybe some early data feeds suggest chaos is starting at Jabot. Everything looks like it's working as planned.
But behind the scenes,
that backdoor vulnerability, now controlled by Phyllis, intercepts the core command. The AI is activated, yes, but its targeting parameters are instantly, secretly switched. So the program is manipulated to look like it's deploying its algorithms against Jabot's systems.
But it's actually not.
No. Its real payload, the actual destabilization routines, are being directed squarely at Newman Enterprises' infrastructure instead. It starts subtly dismantling Victor's own company from the inside out.
Okay, that sounds incredibly risky still. Surely Victor or his people at Newman will eventually notice their systems are going haywire. Won't they figure it out pretty quickly?
Eventually, yes. But the genius of the plan, the sources suggest, lies in the built-in time delay and, crucially, the external camouflage. And this is where Cain Ashby, ironically, helps Phyllis unintentionally.
How does Cain help her? By warning Jack and Diane.
Yes. Remember, Victor needs confirmation that his expensive, risky new toy is working. He needs to see results. And because Cain ran straight to the Abbotts, warning them about the stolen AI.
Victor gets to watch the Abbotts panic.
Exactly. Victor will observe them scrambling. He'll see Jack calling emergency meetings with Billy. He'll hear that Jack is demanding Kyle come back from Los Angeles immediately, ASAP. He sees the enemy mobilizing their defenses.
And he assumes they're panicking because his attack on Jabot is working beautifully.
Precisely. He doesn't know they're panicking because Cain warned them Phyllis had the AI. He interprets their defensive actions as proof that his offensive strike has landed and is causing devastation.
So the Abbotts trying to protect themselves actually provides the perfect smokescreen for the real attack happening at Newman.
It's perfect camouflage.
Yeah.
Seeing Jack, Billy, Kyle, Diane all freaking out further substantiates the illusion in Victor's mind. It cements his belief that the AI is targeting Jabot and that he's winning. He's watching his rival's reaction as validation, confirming his success.
While the real damage, the subtle algorithmic rot, is spreading through Newman's own servers. He's looking completely the wrong way.
It's a masterful exploitation of his obsession. His attention is so completely fixated on Jack's anticipated misery that he becomes functionally blind to the internal collapse happening right under his nose. He won't look inward, won't suspect the tool he believes he controls until it's potentially far, far too late.
A perfect storm of hubris, history, and high technology. Wow. #tag outro.
So, if this deep dive analysis holds water, what we're looking at here is potentially one of the most intricate, psychologically brilliant revenge plots Genoa City has ever seen. It's this incredible narrative of comeuppance waiting to happen.
And the sources really frame it that way, don't they? Phyllis is seen as being long overdue for a win, especially against Victor.
Yeah, and frankly, Victor is arguably way overdue for a comeuppance that really hits him where it hurts his ego, his sense of control, his status as the untouchable patriarch.
What's the anticipated fallout if Phyllis actually pulls this off, if the Trojan horse works?
Oh, the predictions are pretty dramatic.
Oh, no,
Total meltdown territory for Victor. This is a man who prides himself, above all else, on always being smarter, always being 10 steps ahead. If Phyllis, someone he consistently underestimated, manages to beat him this thoroughly, using his oldest obsession against him.
He wouldn't just be angry.
No. The sources predict he'd be totally humiliated. He would completely lose it. And maybe adding insult to injury, everybody in Genoa City would have a good laugh watching the mighty Victor Newman taking down a peg or 10.
The irony would be pretty thick, wouldn't it? The master manipulator, the ruthless corporate strategist, who arguably taught Phyllis half of what she knows about dirty tricks,
gets defeated by her, precisely because he underestimated her technical skill, underestimated her strategic patience, and most importantly because he allowed his personal vendetta against Jack Abbott to cloud his business judgment so completely. He prioritized hatred over security.
And the general consensus is people might actually admire Phyllis for it.
Yeah, the prediction is that, maybe grudgingly, people might be pretty impressed with Phyllis for managing to outsmart Victor Newman in such a complex, dare I say, elegant way. Knocking him down a few pegs could earn her some surprising respect.
It definitely raises the stakes beyond just another corporate takeover attempt. This is personal. As you said, Victor's colossal ego seems to be the primary target here. Phyllis didn't just attack his company. She weaponized his entire history.
She meticulously used his decades-long fixation on Jack, his willingness to sacrifice anything to inflict pain on his rival, and his emotional blind spots as the very keys to unlock his downfall. It wasn't a brute force attack. It was like finding a critical vulnerability in his psychological code.
It really proves that even the most powerful figures can be undone if their flaws are consistent and predictable enough.
Absolutely. Pride goeth before a fall, as they say, especially in Genoa City.
Right. So we'll leave you, the listener, with this final thought to chew on, building on everything we've discussed. We've established that this whole Trojan horse clan seems specifically designed to exploit Victor's hubris and his toxic history with Jack Abbott. But if you had to pinpoint it, thinking about Victor's long list of past actions, manipulations, and obsessions, which single specific betrayal or character trait from Victor's past do you think made him the most psychologically vulnerable to falling for this particular trap? A trap that literally required him to be the one holding the door open for his own destruction. Something for you to mull over. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.